So this is my message to my future researcher self 5 years down the line. So that would be in 2023. I think for me, my first priority would be considering the ways in which my research can be practically applied to the field of education. Dr. Kearney talked a little bit about the concept of the theory, research, practice triangle. And she talked about the ways in which she felt ready to jump into theory development. And I'm coming from a slightly different perspective. I think I'm most interested in practice and the ways in which research supports best practices in the classroom. I spend my days as an English as a second language instructor, so I think it's important to reflect on my role as a researcher to support my practice as a teacher, making sure that my pedagogical approach is really grounded in the most up-to-date and effective educational practices, but then also using my role as an instructor to support my practice as a researcher. I think once you become immersed in the field of research and maybe you're outside of the classroom a little bit, it's easy to forget the logistical constraints associated with teaching. So it can be quite easy to point out what instructors aren't doing. But the more time I spend in the classroom, the more I appreciate the constant challenges and limitations of time, of resources, of general knowledge and experience that teachers really contend with. So I think for me, in terms of personal development, I want to really focus on those two roles, the role of the researcher, the role of the instructor, and the ways in which I can connect both to support my practice and development into the best teacher researcher that I can be. I also really feel strongly about reconnecting with the populations that inspired me to become involved in the field of education, specifically community-based educational initiatives and novice teachers. So my initial research and dissertation project looked at the educational experience of refugees and asylum seekers in the United States. So I was looking at the ways in which civic education in the form of citizenship classes intersects with language education. And throughout my time in the field, I came to understand and appreciate that there's a very unique set of challenges associated with this kind of a population. You have past traumas from some of the students. There's a general fluidity of people. They're kind of coming and going because of jobs that are becoming available. They're constantly moving. There's a wide variety of proficiency levels and previous educational experiences in one classroom, and a really extreme lack of resources in community education initiatives in general, even including formally trained teachers. So it made for a very rich research experience, and it's one that I would like to reconnect with, particularly given our shifting political climate. I think there's a lot more to learn there. Methodologically, it was very challenging. I was able to begin to hone my research skills. I took an ethnographic approach, so I was in the classroom for a year. I collected data, including classroom recordings. I interviewed participants at all levels. I collected a really extensive amount of artifacts, including classroom documents, government publications that were used in instruction, student work, kind of across the board. I think it was a strong approach for my first kind of large-scale research initiative. It was certainly the best I could do. And I think you'll find as novice researchers, research is often about doing the very best you can with what you have. I know we have some research projects in this classroom that can be a little intimidating to kind of get into the field, but just remember that we are all doing the best we can. Even when I was doing my dissertation. But really, after spending time in the field, I want to look at my own work and explore work that has been published since on how to really authentically and accurately represent the voices of these populations. So what can I do as a research methodologically in order to most accurately represent the experiences that these individuals have had? So the other population that I'm very passionate about working with in terms of community education is novice instructors. I've worked with them through Dr. Carney's Head Start community partnership that she mentioned, and I was working with pre-service language teachers. I can very clearly remember my first educational experience, my first foray into the classroom, and so I think I can appreciate the significance and influence that a mentor can have in terms of helping navigate access of resources, facilitating reflection on practices, and just general growth as a professional in the field. So I feel very strongly as I continue to grow professionally to reach out and support others in the ways that I was really supported. So reconnecting with community education and novice teachers are two primary goals in terms of getting back into kind of my roots and my initial motivation for becoming a teacher researcher. So hopefully by 2023 I will really feel that I've reconnected with the individuals and the populations and the motivating factors that drove me to kind of pursue this line of education to begin with. So particularly, like I said, reflecting on my own role as a teacher researcher, but then reaching out and kind of reestablishing connections with community education and novice instructors and focusing on that. Thank you so much.